Hey guys, so I just wanted to go ahead and go through market profile and break down kind of all the different aspects that we're going to be talking about, the most important aspects anyway. And yeah, let's dive in. So this is market profile, if you're not familiar with it. Obviously, I hold this in high regard. This once this came into my life and I spent time to understand exactly what market profile is, what it represents, which is value. It was a complete game changer, and I think one of the most important aspects to my ability to become profitable. So with that being said, let's go through it. So we've already kind of gone through all the basics, essentially how it's built, right? How it's broken down. And so what you see here on mine, and this is just the way that I have it set up with Sierra Chart, you have a lot of customizability, if that's a word, where you can customize pretty much everything as far as color, schemes, the way that you have it set up. Like I don't have mine set up into the alphabetical blocks, but you can. So, you can use, like, just for an example, let's say we want to split this profile here, we want to break it down, right? Depending on the time, so pop up our chart or our crosshair, you can see down in this area down here, this gives you the time frame, right? So as compared to where we would have like the A block, B block, C block would represent a specific time opening, right? Like this would be A, B, C, D, E, F, G, da 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 da. We'll break that down. So the good thing about having the alphabetical blocks is that when you set that up, then you can see that when it's in own profile, you can see where that range goes, like how far in each time frame it goes. So sometimes that is valuable. I don't really use it because I like to break down things by day by splitting the profile like I just did, and then whenever you do that, then you can see the time frame and exactly where it's at. And then you can highlight it or whatever. It takes 2 seconds. It's really not that big of a deal. But anyways, so you have the red triangle here is the close. So the orange square or rectangle is going to be the open. And then you have the initial balance. So the initial balance is something we haven't discussed about. And I've struggled with its use and what do you want to call it? It's I don't remember. I can't think of the word that I'm trying to think of. But like I said, as far as like it's how important it is, right? Some people use the IB, which is the first hour of the session, to use that as a structure to base decisions for the rest of the day from. I've seen that as well, where people will take it and based on the highs and the lows here, they'll consider whether or not it breaks down or breaks up from there. They can use that to get an initial bias and then actually use those as support and resistance levels. One of the most important things that I was actually just thinking of before I started this video was we need anchors, right? Value and price anchors that allow us to determine where we consider things to be bullish, where we consider things to be bearish. Those points of reference that we have throughout the day that allow us to essentially gauge where we're at, gauge where we are with price action, gauge where we are with, momentum and like trader sentiment as far as like how bullish things are or bearish, like how intense is the buying and selling pressure. Like that's the cool thing about VWAP is that gives us a trader sentiment as far as like momentum goes and how well things are trending, right? With market profile, it's primarily about value. There is momentum aspects that we can use that I actually do like to track, but for the most part, it's value. So went on a little tangent there with with the initial balance, but so let's go here. So we have these blue lines here. Actually, I'll use this guy here because it's bigger. It's easier to see. So we have the value area high and the value area low, right? POC, the point of control. And then we have the value area, right? So that's everywhere in here that's got the darker shading. And then these are what is considered the outside of value, right? So these are the extended areas, the fat tails, as they're called, or can be a fat tail. It's the area that's not considered in value, right? Which again is a simple definition of the 70%. 70% of all the price action and trading took place in this area here. And so based on that percentage is what sets up these things. So it's not, nothing crazy there. There's no secret sauce or magic or no crazy voodoo going on there. But what it is it's a consistent metric and consistent variable that allows us to structure things off of. So let's move forward. Let's see, this is oil. So I was looking at something yesterday. Okay, so I think this was the move. Yeah, okay. So we just recently had a big move down, right? As you can kind of see, right? You can see, if we continue to go back further, it goes up further up. I think it was like at 119, broke all the way down to $100, right? So that's a pretty significant move, especially in oil. So what we saw here, and so this will just give us an example to use of how important and why this is so cool is, remember I talked about trading. We talk about value, and we talk about trading in value and outside of value, and price action that happens because of value, right? Where it's drawn towards it. It's either being pushed away from value or being pulled back in towards value. What we see here is these two profiles here, right? So price came down here, and the next day opened inside of value and then traded, right? So these two areas represents the value area. This represented this traded in value, right? So you can see that this is a range type day, right? Now this only does us so good after the fact, right? We need to learn how to identify these things during the day. But when you're first learning them, studying what already happened gives you a really good idea of what can happen and what has happened and what will probably continue to happen, right? So the first thing that happened was we closed inside of value. Even though this was a pretty nice down move, we didn't close outside of value. We came back up inside of value. So that already goes to show, okay, so selling has eased off during this day. We open inside of value. And then when we look inside of this, right, let's break this down, we can see the range type action that happened inside of it. Now there were periods of momentum, right? There were periods of momentum to the downside and more so to the upside, right? And that's part of why paying attention to the range, and we talk about the ADR and all that, and understanding what our range is, right? So if we go, okay, this previous day's range was 106.70 to 103.60, right? That's almost $3 in the oil. It's huge, right? So that's tons of opportunity that's just inside of value. That's without it even having to trend or do anything crazy, right? So we were able to catch, if we were able to expect, okay, we're trading, this is a down day, we're expecting maybe price to continue lower, right? We open up, price isn't able to retest the point of control, right? So it looks like we had a little excursion to the upside, tested this, and so you have these individual value areas and nodes as well inside of this. And as we get deeper into this, we'll talk more about that as well. But so price came up here, it essentially tested where volume and volume dried up at the top of this node here, came down, tested the value area low. We were not able to get any positive price action to the downside. Came back up, retested this area. It wasn't able to break the IB, right? If you consider that important. And then we had our full test to the downside, right? So at this point, price is trending. These are 30. Now remember, these are 30-minute blocks of time, right? So price, and then so we look at these. So there's shelves. So I like to break things up into 30-minute increments as well whenever I'm looking at momentum. So, and that just, so again, there's just kind of keeps things in sync, right? If we're looking and we're paying attention to market profile, we consider that important. Market profile is trading on 30-minute time frames. So I've kind of learned to link myself with that. I like watching the 30-minute, regardless of what time frame I'm trading. So because again, it's a sign that momentum is reversing, right? So you can see that price came down here, it reversed here. There's a little shelf here, of support. Price broke down here, right? And this is at the value area low. So that's something we would be looking at. We would be looking at price to break down that in a significant way there. And so that's what it did. It broke down. Some nice price action, right? So one of our first targets for this day could easily be the low of the day, or near the low, right? This would be a tail on a candlestick chart. So we'll be targeting this and thinking that the price, the trend is to the downside, right? We would expect, okay, like price should be able to hit that pretty easily if the market has conviction and has sellers that are strong enough to take it there, right? So the fact that it doesn't, right? We work to get down lower, and then price is reversed before we even get close to there, consolidates just underneath the value area low, and then pops higher. That's a huge red flag, right? That goes, okay, we're not getting any traction to the downside. B, selling pressure seems to be pretty much non-existent at this point. We're getting a test, but we're not getting any follow through. So what do we do at that point? We would start to expect price to start testing some levels to the upside, right? Now again, this is completely bar any natural levels of support and resistance that we're going to see on the chart, right? This is all without even looking at a bar chart, and that's what's really, really cool. If you've never done this before, you can literally trade with just the market profile. That's it. You don't need anything else. Having a combination of those things, in my opinion, for me, they help me to be able to visually see what's happening. I'm a visual person, right? So for me, visual cues are extremely important. But the point is, and one of the biggest things that I want you to capture in this whole course is you want just enough to help you see exactly what you need to see things clearly, but not more than that, right? So you're going to be drawn to specific things, and as you continue to grow and learn, you will find more and more things where you're like, okay, this seems really, really important now, so I'm going to put the others to the wayside. But as you continue to learn, let's say, market profile, and let's say you push off learning about VWAP, which we're going to go back into in a deeper way coming up, you decide to push that off, and you're like, okay, well, that doesn't seem as support right now because this is the cool thing, right? You'll see that there's limitations to this, just like there is anything, right? That's why I use a combination of things that are really, really important, and I don't just rely on one specific thing. That as you trade and as you continue to trade and learn and grow, you'll put less importance on the next on the new cool thing, and you'll learn to have essentially balance with all of the important things, right? And you've probably experienced that before with like a new indicator or something, right? It's just the way it goes. Like when you're like, oh my gosh, you're like, I just discovered this, but like this thing is gonna be, where has this been all my life, And then really you spend extra time with it, and what I'm trying to say is everything has limitations. So we failed here at the value area low, pushed price higher, again, back up to, the high of this day. We hit this node again, right? And at this point, you can see that this is going to be chart resistance, right? So we know that price has already tested this level once, it's tested this level again, and now we're testing it again. But what you may not have seen before this was the fact that there was a node here, and this was a what they consider a low volume node or a low TPO node, whatever. But essentially, there was low volume trade in this area, and there's little areas that we can target. But what we know is that that traders really liked price in this area, and they didn't like it so much here, right? There's more value here than there was here. So that's what makes it an area that we can target and kind of anticipate a reaction, right? So price came up, again, tested this area. So now what we're looking for is, okay, if we think the price is going to continue higher, our first area that we want to test, so another target could be the point of control. And ideally, if we're able to get a position towards the low of the day, getting a and knowing this is a downtrend, so this is a reversion to the mean move, right? It's either a reversion to the mean, or it is or it's a reversal, right? And mean reversion we're going to get into immediately following this and how important that is. But what that means is that prices move too far to the downside too quick, and that we're going to get a move back up towards where value is established, right? But price, depending on momentum and, you know, trader sentiment with, you know, things, every move gets ramped up, right? Gets investors and traders get excited, right? So as things move and momentum moves, people pile on to that move, right? There's people that are late on the bandwagon on every time frame, whether it's the 1 minute, the 5 minute, or the 1 week, right? Doesn't matter, right? So, and that's what we see here. So we see price come up here, hits the point of control, and at this point, prices we now have a nice breakout, and we can see we've had a little bit of price action consolidation up here, and price is starting to trend nicely now, right? So if you were able to set up things, whether it's a trigger down here or seeing that there wasn't price follow through this area and getting long around the value area low from this day, targets of the point of control and the value area high would be extremely profitable and have a lot of value. And so at that point, you know, you could easily be done for the day, right? I mean, that's pretty much the high of the move. And there's a little volume node here that you could target there. Doesn't look like we got anything there. And then beyond that, it would be targeting this low volume area here, and then potentially the previous high and this point of control here if price continued to the upside, right? We know that it's never a straight line. It's never, you know, a straight shot. There's always things that happen along the way. But what we look at is we look for productive price action. We look for trending, for sustainable trends. We look for momentum to continue and to carry, and for those things to be tested, right? So if, let's say we were going to have a full reversal day today, right? Something that we would want to see was we would want to see price come back down, break the value area high, right? Which it did. Come back down to the point of control and potentially even test the bottom of this node, which it did. And then if price jettisoned out of here and came back up and then continued to trend higher, I would look at that and say, okay, we're looking at more of an actual reversal on a more short-term basis than just a reversion to the mean or a pullback or profit taking, right? Say something fundamentally is changing here. And so that's what we saw the next day, right? So what we did was we saw a move down. We essentially traded inside of this day. We weren't able to break down, and the next day it broke up higher out of this, right? So now this is price full on reversing. And I'm pretty sure if we look at, let's see, where is it at? Is it this one? Yeah, I'm pretty sure this is what happened down here. This was that day. It was one of the days down in here where price consolidated and then it broke out to the upside. So anyways, and again, using our momentum and our charts in combination with VWAP with the TPO, I just think makes it that much more powerful. It allows us to frame the day, frame the price action that's happening inside of it. It gives us targets, and it allows us to anticipate what we think is going to happen next and where the areas of importance are. So, and real quick, I'll show you that because I used two. I used the daily, and then I also used the weekly. So the weekly just gives us a larger time frame of reference. Again, it gives us, we can look at the weekly support and resistance levels and the significant levels there, and then we can look at again let me see if I can. There we go. it's another layer that we can add on top of things of areas of significance, right? So on more of a longer time frame, right? So if you're swing trading, this is really, really great. You can actually even create monthly profiles as well. And then you can bump up the VWAP to show, you know, weekly, monthly, or even yearly levels as well. So this works on, and again, that's a sign of something that can and will work, is that it's robust and it's the same across all time frames, because essentially the market trades the same on every time frame. It's just who's trading on that time frame, right? And how much power and pull do they have. Generally, it's the higher time frame traders, right? You got the investors, big money people are trading with the long term in mind. And so depending on where you're at in there, we're just trying to take advantage of the price moves in the shorter term. So anyways, I hope that was helpful. I hope you learned quite a bit and that it helped being able to see things maybe in action and explained in video form instead of just the long format of the slideshow. And we'll do plenty more of these. So yeah, all right, thanks. See you back in the course.